Hi, everybody, and welcome to another TFE Live, our show number 245 for the 10th of December, the last couple of weeks of the last month of the decade, right, Julia?
Right. Momentous.
Momentous. I trust you're well.
I am.
And do you have any hot tips before we go to the rest of the show?
Yes. Only it's a lovely time to remember to like, share, and subscribe to our program.
It is indeed. And we appreciate very much the support. And if you're so inclined, go over to sailingillustrated.com, our main website, and become a patron via Patreon. We would really appreciate that if you would do so. I'm your host, Tom Ehman. Welcome to the show. We're going to have a lot of fun today. We got a lot of news, particularly from down under. Before we get into all that, I want to thank Ali D. Nas, who was on the show Friday. We recorded her from the King's Cup in Phuket, Thailand, just the day before, and then we ran that tape on Friday. And I've heard, I had no idea we had so many fans, Julia, from that part of the world. People who have lived there, people who are married to Thai people, and so on and so forth. So it was really nice that we did some action in Asia. And, of course, Leonard Takahashi, who is Japanese by origin, but he's been living in New Zealand for a long time, so down in Oceania, he is joining us in a few minutes. And, indeed, we have Leonard today live via Skype from Auckland. And this Friday, we've got Hamish Ross, also live via Skype from Auckland. Dr. Hamish Ross, yes, I should say, the esteemed rules advisor, America's Cup historian and lawyer, now with a doctorate in law. And he is not only has a doctorate, but he did his thesis on the America's Cup.
That's got to be fascinating.
And we've had him on the show before. He's always been a popular guest, yes, but I think maybe our most popular guest ever might be Leonard Takahashi, to have a young guy like Leonard, who was the youngest guy in SailGP this year. So anyway, we'll get to him in a minute. Let's get on with the news. Some very sad news coming out of New Zealand, speaking of the Kiwis. But this, did you see this, Julie? This volcanic eruption, it took a day or so for it to make the news here. I guess it happened about 36 hours ago. And I'm going to just run a little segment here from CBS because it was so disturbing. And it's, I don't think it's sailing related, but it is New Zealand related, which is always has our sailing hats and our sailing minds on. With
Taronga's 1 inch away. With
things in New Zealand. Have a look at this.
In New Zealand this morning, we're learning the names of some of the victims of the volcanic eruption there. 47 people, including 9 Americans, were on White Island at the time of the disaster. Webcam footage shows people walking inside the crater. This is just moments before the eruption happened. Ramy Inocencio is near the scene in New Zealand. Ramy, good morning. What's the status of the rescue operation?
Good morning. I'm standing right by this makeshift memorial for those people who died really just off the coast. The death toll stands as this. 6 people are now confirmed dead. 8 people are still missing, but those people are also believed to have been killed. At the same time, New Zealand police are trying to get out to White Island, but they say conditions are still just too dangerous. During their rush to escape, tourists shot video of White Island moments after it blasted open. The violent eruption sent plumes of searing hot smoke and ash more than 12,000 feet into the air. No. New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern addressed Parliament Tuesday.
Police and Defence Force personnel have undertaken a number of aerial reconnaissance flights over the island since the eruption. However, no signs of life have been detected.
New Zealand police say they have photos showing the location of 6 unidentified bodies that are still trapped on the island, covered in ash. Unstable conditions have placed recovery efforts on hold. White Island is about 30 miles off the coast. The sky is clear now, but on Monday, these boats were packed with tourists fleeing the erupting volcano. Many of them were wounded, some with severe burns. Russell Clark was one of the first responders on the scene.
I can only imagine what it was like for the people that were there at the time. They had nowhere to go, and an absolutely terrible experience for them.
Okay, well, you get the idea what this was like. It was a horrific tragedy because we had tourists out there in the cone, apparently, of the volcano when the thing went off. I'm going to go to Leonard straight away. He's Leonard Takahashi, who is down in New Zealand and talking in the Tech Check. Leo, you said there was a yacht race out around the volcano just, a week or so ago?
It was about a month ago. There was a White Island race where all the boats race around that island and come back into Auckland. So
have you been
about a month ago? And
have you ever been out to that island?
No, never. No, I haven't been able to go out there.
Well, if you do, stay away from it.
Definitely stay away from it now.
Stay away from it now. In any event, Julia, did you see any of that on your favorite network on CBS?
Oh yes, of course. And what's interesting is the interviews with the geologists and so forth, who said it's not unusual, but to have that kind of thing, but that nobody had any really forewarning of it.
Well, there were some inklings. Apparently, there was a lot of geothermal and
yeah, but not out of the ordinary.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay. Well, nonetheless, our hearts and minds with the folks down there. It's a tough thing. We'll come back to Leo in a second, but he had that. He told me that there'd been a yacht race out, and apparently it's a regular race out around that island. A beautiful part of the world, nonetheless. But let's get to some better news here. A Bravo Zulu to these guys, the winners of the Star Sailors League, Ian Percy and Anders Ekstrom. Percy, of course, from Great Britain, Ekstrom from Sweden, sailing together, and they just did beautifully. Almost didn't make the cut, and they won the finals. And I think you will enjoy this video. Have a look at this video recap of really the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals of what I think, and I said on the show last week at least once, I think is the best event in the sport.
With over half the fleet eliminated, the top 10 teams docked out for the final phase of racing. With a $200,000 prize purse now up for grabs, the sailors had their eyes set on the trophy and their chance to battle for the 2019 SSL Finals title. The quarterfinals got underway with Henrik Haddad and Henry Boning grabbing a great start at the pin. However, taking the right-hand side of the upwind, Chiavarini and Weiss with Rohart and Ponso battle hard for the lead at Mark 1. Chiavarini and Weiss continue to extend their lead on the downwind, leading at the bottom mark. Rounding close together, Percy and Ekstrom ended up copping a penalty, not giving Mahonen and Kushner enough room at the mark. The Brazilian duo soon felt the pressure, losing the all-important 5th spot to Percy and Ekstrom. Chiavarini and Weiss sailed away to win the quarterfinals, booking a spot in the semis. Also joining them was Rohart and Ponso and Percy and Ekstrom. Sneaking the final spot was Haddad and Boning right on the line. 8 then became 6, with Negri and Clean now ready to fire in the semi-finals. Haddad and Boning ended up being caught OCS by the veteran Percy and Ekstrom on the start. With the right side paying big, Rohart and Ponso cashed in big, leading a long way at Mark 1, and sailed away with no pressure to grab a big win and spot in the finals. Behind them, the battle resumed for the last 2 spots in the finals. Melleby and Revkin battled hard with Chiavarini and Weiss to take second, and with a huge downwind leg, Percy and Ekstrom booked the last spot in the finals. The final 4 now remained, all previous and current Star World champions. Lining up for the start, Percy and Ekstrom bagged the pin end and punched out to an early advantage. At the top, however, it was Melleby and Revkin in the lead at Mark 1, with Rohart and Ponso chasing in second. At the bottom mark, Melleby and Revkin held a slim lead, but chased hard by Rohart and Ponso, Percy and Ekstrom. The 3 teams jockeyed hard around the remaining legs. Coming down to the finish, it was neck and neck between the 3, crossing the line almost simultaneously. The race committee soon confirmed that Percy and Ekstrom would be the 2019 Star Sailors League Finals champions.
We had no idea, so we're moping it for a while, and then when someone told us, and it was all good. It's fantastic to win, especially with Ian, and especially in this boat. Considering the history of it and what they, all the success they had, and it's super special.
It was really exciting. I mean, it must have been 3 boats within a metre, and that's what it's all about here. Brilliant. In the conditions like today, it really helps when you're good friends and you just, you take the rough with the smooth and you just keep plugging, and then sometimes it works out like it did for us today. Overall, fantastic, brilliant place to be at this time of year, and such a fantastic event, such a nice warm feel to it.
It has been an unforgettable week here in Nassau, full of intense down-to-the-wire action. We welcome you back in 2020 for more Star Sailors League.
I just think it's a terrific format, going from 8 to 6 to 4, and the winner-take-all one race. That final race with 4 boats in it is winner-take-all. Brilliant stuff. Just terrific television, terrific commentary, terrific sailors. I think this collection of sailors was the best ever. Julia, you watched a lot of it too, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm sure Leo did. We'll get to him in a moment, but it was fantastic. As Ian Percy said, it was a brilliant regatta, and this is what their 6th or 7th SSL, Star Sailors League final in Nassau, and I don't know how else to say except brilliant, including and especially the television the vision and the audio and the replay, and having Shirley Robertson on the water, who then was climbing aboard the boats with the winners after each race and doing quick interviews. But these two, Maurice and Helen, did a very, very nice job with the play-by-play and the color. She's a professional TV hostess, presenter. And they had Dennis Conner on set for one race. They had K-Art on set for the last race. And you know how clever and glib is. Yeah. I don't mean that negatively. How clever and how articulate Paul is, and just did a bang-up job, a terrific job with this whole thing. And I think it bodes well for when the Star Sailors League goes to the big event in the 40s in 2021. And I, with all due respects to Sail GP and the America's Cup, and okay, the America's Cup will always be the pinnacle, but my goodness, this was fantastic stuff. And bravo Zulu, not only to Ian and Anders, but to everybody involved. I don't know what you all thought. Let's stop here and welcome a lot of folks on here, Julia, and help me out with any comments. Vince McAteer, we said, Paul Homchick, Manuel Brendan Gomez, Boss Hamza, Rob Fry. Hey, yeah. I saw Rob Fry behind you at some point. Leonard, your dad is there. He's watching, must be in the parlor watching. He's there in the house, isn't he?
Yeah, he's doing a few jobs, been around the house now.
Well, he's watching you.
Mum's ordering around.
So, Rob Fry, welcome to you. Maybe we get him to pop out and put his face behind you so we see, because he's a regular on here, as you know, Leo, and we appreciate him.
He's always watching.
He's always watching. Summer Green, Clark Chapin, and Jody Shields. I talked to Jody once or twice this morning. Ted Ryman is in Cape Town, as always. Marcos Weinstein down in SoCal. Jody Shields is saying goodbye from Australia. Looking forward to heading to Perth tomorrow for the Moth Worlds. I hope he's doing commentary there, Julie. He's doing such a terrific job of the commentary. One hears he has not been re-upped to do the commentary for Sail GP this year. I'm very disappointed by that personally, because I thought he did such a good job. But as I texted him this morning, he's going to get a lot of action because he is so good. And I'm sure he's launched as a commentator, especially play-by-play, in our beloved sport. Richard Gladwell, also down in Auckland, Pedro Foiling Sailor in Australia, Clark Chapin, of course, in Michigan, Roger Lockhart, Gordon Smith, who's up in Scandinavia and has sent us some good tips this week. Thanks again, Gordon, for your comments and tips. Roger Lockhart is saying, greeting from NB, I guess from Newport Beach.
Yeah.
Leo, while we got you there, show us your shirt. Let me take your title off. I can show
there you go.
Everybody down in Orange County. Roger Lockhart will like that from a 3 years ago. Yeah. The 50th anniversary of which is where we met, Leonard, at the Gov Cup. Denise Peterson is saying, hi, Leonard. And Zane Yoder, Bjorn Vestergaard, Becky Thompson, Ben Nichols. Who's this guy? Kazuyo Takahashi.
That's my mom, isn't it?
Kazuyo. How do you say it? Kazuyo Takahashi.
Yeah, we call her Kazi.
Kazi. Welcome to her. So that's your mom, eh?
Yeah, she must be watching from somewhere. She's not at home.
Nice. She's not. Maybe she's at the yacht club.
Maybe.
Welcome to Kazi and Clancy Solway, Travis Meyer, Leslie Ryan, Anthony Chalmont down in Texas, in Fort Worth. Neil Collingridge, Dwayne Collicott, Peter McDonald, also in Newport Beach, Bill Wingrove. The SSL finals, Bill Wingrove saying, finish was classic. Yeah, it was close. In fact, one suggestion we might make, and we do this at Governor's Cup, as Leo knows, we have the race officer with a radio on, and we can hear him calling the bow numbers. And of course, with the Governor's Cup, they either put up the yellow flag as it's match racing, the yellow flag or the blue flag, and we know immediately. They have to do the same thing in this Star Sailors League because the racing was so close.
Yeah. And
for that confusion for half a minute or more as to who had actually won, the commentators are right. They could see on the TV shot that Ian Percy and Anders Ekstrom had won, but it wasn't confirmed, and there were hugs from some of the other crews going on. They need to put up either a flag with the bow number of the boat that goes over first, in fact, ideally the order of the boats going over, or I think more simply, if the race officer just has a radio, a VHF handheld, and the commentators, like Andy and I do, are listening to the race officer, they just say, bow number 6, bow number 3, bow number... And it would end that confusion. That one small tip, but for what was otherwise a terrific regatta. And yes, it was Bill Wingrove. Terrific stuff. Travis Meyer, coverage of SSL was fantastic. Having Dennis and Paul calling some races was a highlight. Couldn't agree more, Travis. Thank you. Josh Tozo up in Newport, Rhode Island, or actually in Bristol, Rhode Island at the U.S. Sailing HQ. Thanks for your email this morning, Josh. Rick Myers, Daniel Gruen, dropping in late, Tom. Yes, the SSL was amazing. Daniel Gruen, normally in Germany. Lauren Thompson. Hello, Lauren. Patrick Keys. Steve Pick. A lot of folks on it. Neil Collingridge. Yes, I watched it with the kids. It's rare watching sailing on TV. Is good. My 13-year-old loved it. What a finish. Exactly. John Emmett, Tom Fishbeck, Jeff Waller. Hi, Jeff. Thanks for your video. I'm going to run that later in the show. You're in Sydney, getting ready for the Rolex Sydney Hobart.
And how smoky that was. I couldn't believe that.
That's really, we'll show you how bad it is in Sydney. They had to cancel the race today. We'll tell you about that. Chris Watts, Joan Winston. Here's a new name, Pericles. Leave us. There's a good Greek name. I had a good friend in Ann Arbor named Pericles Gagalis. Pericles. Hello, Perry. We call him Perry. Hello. World Sailing should take note. We say here in, he is in Greece.
Yeah.
Yes, Pericles. Thank you for that, sir. Indeed, indeed. John Emmett watching from Melbourne. Still not used to watching your show first thing in the morning. Well, you're down there for, I guess, the time being until the big World Championships that happen. Where are they? Your next World Championships of those 3 classes and maybe some others are in Melbourne?
Yeah, they're in Geelong in Melbourne.
Geelong, and coming up here in what, January or February?
Early February. Starts on the 8th of February.
And that what classes is that, Leonard? 49er?
That's the 49er FX, and the NACA fleet again.
And aren't the lasers and the fins down there as well, or some group of them?
Yeah, I think they're on either coming up or early January.
Yeah, there's a lot of racing down under this time of the year, and no doubt why John Emmett is there. Hi, John. Laser 50th, he is saying, is coming up. Yes. And Pat Lawless is in Ireland. Hi from a windy Ireland. Christine Gribben, who you remember, Leo, do you remember Christine Prigmore
Absolutely.
Gribben? She's now married. Her taking the name of her husband, or at least the last name. Great shirt, she says.
For you.
And Christine is once again chairing the Governor's Cup. I can't remember if this is her 6th, 7th, 8th time in a row. It does a wonderful job as Gov Cup chairman.
Does a wonderful job.
On here to watch you. Jerry Hill. Oh, Jerry. Kazi again. Bill Wingrove. Maybe colored flags for the SSL Finals boats since there are only 4. I think something, Bill, that refers directly to the bow numbers. We all know it could be since there's only 1 per country normally. You could use the national flag too. That would be fun. Mm-hmm. You could have 4 national flags, but I think since you might have a rat-a-tat-tat, you might have 3 boats finishing right in a row, and the race officer says 6, 12, 13.
Yeah, it's hard to do that.
Well,
otherwise,
it's hard. Yeah, it'd be hard to get flags coordinated and everything. And I think, in fairness, the race officers, they want to double check with the person calling at the other end of the line,
and then they could fly them for confirmation.
Indeed, good call. Craig Monk, hey, Monkey is there watching. Craig, nice to see you on. Craig's been very involved in the America's Cup and a Finn. What was he, a gold medalist? Do you remember, Leo? Monkey's an Olympic medalist in the Finn. I think gold medalist for New Zealand. And I did a campaign or two with him in the America's Cup, and he's been involved also with the Chinese team in SailGP, has he not?
Yeah, I think he's involved with the China one
with Nathan
situation and
Nathan Outteridge.
With with
Japan.
With the Chinese SailGP team. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what's going on with that. But okay, let's wrap up. So many folks on here. Lasers are in Sandringham, John Emmett. You're very popular, Leo. You got all these folks on here and commenting. Tyler Wolk, who's a name you will know, who has been the bosun at Gov Cup. Gerard Hughes, banging the corners, hopefully. Denise Ross Peterson. Leonard, are you doing any sailing now or still recovering? We're going to get Leonard to talk about that in a minute. Interested in doing the Warren Jones. Denise Peterson is helping the Royal Perth Yacht Club look for entries for the Warren Jones International Youth Match Racing Championship. Clark Chapin. For the SSL event, Clark Chapin is saying, I thought that a good idea would be to have the sail number match the bow number. Yeah, that's hard, Clark, because they bring their own sails and they've got the Star Class, normal international numbering system. Peter Houston's telling us that Craig was a bronze medalist in '92. The 92 Olympics. Thanks for that, Peter. And Allie D. Nas, we thanked her earlier in the show for appearing with us on Friday. Okay, let's get on to America's Cup news, and then we'll get down to Leo and get really intensively with him about what's going on, including the question that Denise Peterson had. As you know, we told you that by the 30th of November, the America's Cup the America's Cup Event Authority, the AC, what we call the Challenger of Record / Defender, or CORD, COR/D, had to announce the venue and dates, supposedly, for the 2020 America's Cup World Series regattas, of which the protocol calls for there to be 4. Well, they didn't. Instead, they had this announcement saying 2020 is shaping up, yada, yada. The venues and dates in the second paragraph for the remaining 2 World Series regattas have been finalized, but not announced. We'll be publicly releasing them over the coming weeks in coordination with the associated host cities and commercial partners. Now, one hears they still don't have a deal with Portsmouth, because we told you a week or so ago, obviously the first regatta will be in Cagliari in Sardinia in Italy, the venue, the city down in the south of Sardinia, where Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli's team headquarters, where their team base is. Sir Ben Ainsley's team has just joined them down there and will be doing their winter training also in Cagliari. That is the British team. But they aren't sailing until after the first of the year. So they're taking a few weeks off, getting the base and their boat set up. But that's the Cagliari. It looks like Cagliari in English, but in Italian it's Cagliari, Cagliari. And then after that regatta at the end of April in Cagliari, we told you a few days ago they're going to go to Portsmouth. Why? Well, it's because of this. You know what that is, Julia?
Yes.
Remember that?
I do.
And that regatta will be in Portsmouth the 4th through 7th of June. It's not yet announced, but one hears, and we're quite sure that's the date. But this is the Emirates Spinnaker Tower in Portsmouth. It was built for the millennium around the turn of the century, for 2000. It was one of the tallest observation structures in the UK. And the chairman of Emirates Airlines, which of course is the sponsor, prime sponsor of Emirates Team New Zealand, lives in London. He's a Brit, lives in London and has a home down in Portsmouth. And they want this regatta there. And apparently part of their sponsorship deal with ETNZ was, you get us a regatta in Portsmouth, and it's just the way it's got to be. Now, that's what I hear, but I haven't seen the contract, obviously. So that's why the regatta is going to be there. The challengers don't want to go there. The challengers want to do the Cagliari regatta, then they want to go home and train, and then ship to their new team bases in Auckland. Take up in the third quarter of this year, start training in Auckland in preparation for the Challenger Selection Series, which starts next January, just a little over 12 months from now. So they're going to have to go do this regatta. The challengers don't want to run it. The Challenger of Record, Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli, is responsible for running all the pre-regattas, so says the protocol. But they said, no, if you want this regatta, you, Emirates Team New Zealand, you run it. So we have this very strange situation where ETNZ is going to run one of the pre-regattas in the hometown of one of the challengers in Portsmouth. And as we said on, what did I say, June 4th through the 7th?
Mm.
Where's that slide? I had that date there.
Yeah.
June 4th through 7th in Portsmouth on the south coast of the UK. So the protocol, there's a protocol amendment to that effect, still is not out. We'll ask Hamish Ross, not that he's involved with protocol amendments, to see what he knows when he's on the show on Friday. And if the protocol amendment was posted, it was done so this morning after we finalized the show, because I didn't find it online. Another Bravo Zulu here, because while we're still in the America's Cup, to these guys, Leonard's good friends and in some ways arch rivals, Blair Tuke and Pete Burling won their 49er World Championship. In fact, their 5th 49er World Championship. These guys, of course, of Emirates Team New Zealand fame. They also were the silver medalists in 2012 in this class and the gold medalists in Rio 2016 in the 49er class. That regatta, those 3 world championships, wrapped up on Sunday. And what were Blair and Pete doing on Monday? They were out on ETNZ's boat, Te Aihe, cruising around Auckland and beyond in the waters where the Cup will take place next year. Well, actually, a little over 12 months from now, 14 months from now, and didn't miss a beat. And these are shots from Richard Gladwell. Thanks, Richard. Beautiful shots of the boat training. I think this is what they call the paddock, one of the areas that they sail when it's very windy because it's flat, it's protected by the land, and it's also one of the 4 or 5 potential race course areas. Again, nice shots from Richard Gladwell of ETNZ training on Monday with Blair and Pete aboard. These guys are real troopers and just amazing, strong, great sailors. We've long ago reported that Defiant, New York Yacht Club, American Magic's boat, and the so-called mule, their little boat, was being shipped and had been shipped to Florida for another winter training session in Pensacola, Florida, where they trained last winter. And this is a press release dated, the 9th? And they've been sailing since the 2nd. So a week ago. We told you they were going to start last week. They started last Monday, sailed Monday, Tuesday, and maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, and then the breeze lightened up. But they're back at it again this week. This was shipping from Rhode Island in November. We had a world exclusive photo of on here, Defiant leaving Rhode Island. And then this is a team shot that they sent with that press release yesterday of them arriving in Pensacola. And, of course, this was several weeks ago that they arrived. This is an old photo, but they just issued it today. They're very cagey. Terry Hutchinson, a clever guy. So Defiant arriving in Pensacola. Meanwhile, Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli on Saturday had an open house at their team base, invited people to apply for the first 700 slots, I think it was, online, and have a look at this video. So that's what LRPP, Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli, have been up to, and not much sailing action, I guess. I mean, we haven't seen any videos or photos. I'm sure they're doing a little bit of sailing, but that was a promotional thing at their base. Nice. What a beautiful base they have too.
Indeed.
Yes. And no surprise. I mean, this is Patrizio Bertelli and the Italians. It's just beautiful team base. Now, you wonder, well, since the Brits have shipped their boats from Portsmouth down to Colliery, and we've seen the photos of them arriving In fact, we had one of our Fozy sent us a photo while we were live a week ago of their boat arriving. But they're not going to sail, and understandably, I guess, they're not going to sail until the new year. So they're taking this month off, giving everybody a break. And in the meantime, they've just issued this video that I also thought you would enjoy.
Yeah, we're really excited about the winter training camp coming up in Cagliari. It's where we're going to race our first World Series event in the end of April. So it's a real natural fit for us in terms of the logistics. And obviously quite a lot warmer than the Solent in our British winter. So it'll be a really, really important time for the team going through RB1, learning a lot from that boat and then locking into racing at the end of April. Most importantly, though, it's a learning tool for us at going into boat 2, the eventual race boat, and developing, how we sail these boats, how we design and develop these boats to get the optimum performance.
Okay, nice video. There is no second is one of their hashtags, one of their claims that other teams have used over the years. And the other team, Long Beach Yacht Club's Stars Plus Stripes Team USA. What have we heard from them?
Crickets.
I couldn't resist. Look at Leo is grinning from ear to ear. I couldn't resist. I worked so hard on that to find that sound effect this way. Can you hear the birds chirping behind Leo? It's a nice early summer day down there, late spring day. It really sounds good, Leonard.
Yeah.
Nice stuff. Okay, onward and upward. Nothing heard from them. There was a big announcement last week and the week before, and it's crickets. Let's stop there again before we get to Leo and formally and look at, oh man, a lot of folks on here. Welcome to all of you. Thanks for joining Patrick Keys, Ken Glidewell, our Vice Commodore, soon to be Commodore at St. Francis Yacht Club. Welcome, Ken. Jody Shields, Banging the Corner style racing is taking over the world. And he, of course, Banging the Corners is a regatta that Jody, as you remember, we had him on the show, that they've been running down there in Lake Macquarie, I think it is, at his hometown. And I think this SSL format, again, I don't know why the Olympics aren't run that way. And Leo, I'll come back and ask you in a second, but I think the Olympic format ought to be the same instead of this ridiculous medal race, where sometimes the person who wins the gold medal has already won it before the medal race, or the silver and the bronze, and then they might run the medal race, and the person who wins it doesn't win the gold medal. And, 100-yard dash, you go out and you run the 100-yard dash. Whoever wins, at least the finals, not the preliminary heats. Then we run this medal race, and the person who wins it doesn't maybe even get a medal. The person who finishes 6th or 7th, as long as they're ahead enough of their competition, they might end up with a gold medal. But the SSL format is wonderful. 4 boats, 3 of them are going to get podium spots. The one that wins the race is going to get the gold, and the 4th place is getting, as we say, the leather medal. But how cool is that the race is also long enough? These were 40-minute races. This wasn't just a little quick sprint. These races were long enough with tactical racing, with wind shifts, with boat speed differences, and if you had a bad start and you had good boat speed, you came back and could still win. So, good stuff. Leo, I don't know if there we go. Leo, we lost Leo's signal for a minute. There, he's back. Cool stuff. And while we're on it, Jody Shields is agreeing, best format ever. I don't know why they just don't adopt that. If World Sailing had 2 brains, which obviously they don't, given everything we've seen. A lot of people are smart, cool, nice, hardworking people. But bloody hell. That's a proven format. Now, what are you smiling about?
I just have to agree on Jody's comment about the Banging the Corners Cup being, pretty awesome. I remember when I was quite young, I watched the first Banging the Corners Cup in Sorrento, and I thought it was one of the best things I've ever seen. So many big names having that real close format racing was pretty awesome. So I have to agree on Jody there. And his commentary was next to none as well. So probably one of the favorite sailing videos of all time for me when I was young.
Couldn't agree more, and I think a lot of people on here do agree. Andy Green, hello, Andy. Betsy Barrett, Tom Priest, John Emmett. I think Sail GP starts June 12th, so pretty close together. Well, we're going to get into that a little bit with Leonard. He is going to do both Sail GP and his Olympic campaign will continue, at least through the Worlds. Germany took silver in the 49er, Daniel Gruen is saying. I was so happy. Eric Heil and Thomas Prossel are really good guys. And see, I wouldn't have known how to pronounce that S set, Julie, if I hadn't lived in Germany.
That's true.
Prossel. That B that looks like a B to us, funny looking B to us Anglos.
Mm-hmm.
And the set, that's called an S set auf Deutsch in German. Susan Watson Kenny. Remember Susan Kenny, I'm sure. The PR lady promotion, excuse me, at Extraordinaire for Gov Cup. Bill Wingrove, will they allow spectators to take a ride on the mule? Bill, I think, Bill, for liability reasons alone, they're not going to do that. I doubt very much whether they will, but we'll see. And if you hear anything, let us know. You're close to them there. Jen Lancaster, Paul Erickson, Daniel Gruen, of course. Gordon Smith saying, what a great way to get engagement with an event. Absolutely. Alfredo Partibile, hi to you, Alfredo. Clark Chapin, only if they sign a 6-page waiver will they get on that boat. It's not even that. I just think it's too dangerous. Daniel Gruen is saying AC World Series Colliery is April 23 to 26. Yeah, that's the last weekend in April, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Sail GP San Francisco is May 2 to 3, which is the following weekend. But I think that's doable for anybody who would be doing that. Was that a strange thing to say, or anybody who would be doing it? It's doable for anybody who would be doing it.
Well,
I think you know what I meant.
The intent was clear.
I am talking about the UK Sail GP. Yes, John Emma, we got that. Water Sports, LM Water Sports. John Schaefer. John's going to come on the show sometime, and we've talked to him about that. He is an international man of mystery, like several of the people on here. Paul Erickson, hello to you. Are you in the Bay Area, Paul, or are you off and about somewhere? Exotic. Bill Wingrove, question, comment for Leo. It seems you have a target on you as you took a hit, not as serious in the Gov Cup in the 50th, and went for a swim. I should have put that picture on.
Oh, yes.
And Mary, was that a Mary Longpree photo? Do you remember who took that photo?
I think it was a Mary Longpree photo.
Mary Longpree. I should have. If somebody will grab that and send it to Julia or put it on my Facebook page, we might grab that and stick that in the show yet.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bill Wingrove, and we'll ask Leo to comment on that. John Emmett, Joan Winston, yep, that is correct. I mean the UK, yeah, okay. You know, I also saw Leo. First, let me go. Dan Nolan, hello, Dan. Dan Nolan is joining. Let me go formally now and welcome and introduce Leonard Takahashi, who is our by now longtime friend, having met him three or four. How many Gov Cups ago was that?
It was 5 Gov Cups ago, 5 years now.
And the World Youth Match Racing Championship?
Oh, I never did that regatta, but most of the other Kiwi boys were doing it.
Well, we've gotten to know you, and very proud of all of your achievements and that cadre of kids. You're what, 21 now?
I turned 21 on the 18th
of December.
December, yes.
Okay. So
happy birthday.
Happy birthday in advance. But that whole group that we've gotten to know in this youth match racing cadre, including some of the gang from Bill Wingrove's club at Davis Island Yacht Club, and especially the group in Australia and New Zealand, and of course in SoCal, and they're starting. Our staff Commodore Kimball Livingston, as you know, Julie, is starting to wind youth match racing up here because it's so good for somebody who. Leo, tell us why match racing is so good for kind of the bigger picture, learning the sport.
From my experience, it's just been really good. You know, I've never been wasn't interested in keelboat sailing, and then when I started the match racing at the youth program at the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron, I started enjoying it because you're sailing with your friends, and it's really sociable. You meet lots of new people, and the racing is just so intense. It's just you got one goal is to beat the other team, and that's why everyone on your team is working towards. So that's why I loved it so much, and that's why I still want to keep doing it.
Are the skills transferable to Sail GP, or is that just a whole different kettle of fish?
No, the skills are, very similar. You're still doing a lot of match racing in Sail GP. Obviously, the boats are a little bit different. You're not racing Gov Cup 21s at 50 knots, so that's slightly different. But most of the skills are transferable. Obviously, in the 49er racing as well, you can still use match racing tactics to pass boats in front of you or protect your lead, and things I've learned from the match racing days, I've definitely translated into the sailing that I'm doing right now.
Okay, well let's go to this Sail GP video that is a nice introduction of you. I guess it was from last summer. You, of course, were the youngest, as we said at the top of the show, the youngest crew member of any of the 6 Sail GP teams, and you were sailing with Nathan Outeridge on Team Japan. You were originally from Japan, right? Your ethnicity, were you born in New Zealand or were you born in Japan?
No, I was born in Japan. My mother's Japanese and my father's from New Zealand.
And that's we get him back out here. We get him to cuddle up behind you maybe and get Rob Fry in the shot. But in the meantime, let's play this video. It's a cool video of Leo featured in by Sail GP last summer.
I'm Leo Takahashi. I'm 20 years old. I'm part of the Japan Sail GP team, and I'm the grinder on board. I got into sailing when I was 9 in New Zealand. I've had the privilege to be Japanese background sailing in New Zealand, so I had the best of both worlds and then progressed through those classes, the classic 29er, and now I'm currently campaigning the 49er for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics and learning as much as I can about the F50. I was part of the Youth America's Cup team for Japan in 2017. From then on, Fuku, Kazuhiko Sofuku and Nathan Outeridge kind of just invited me on board, and I became part of the team and loving it. It's an awesome opportunity for a young person like me to be able to be involved with Sail GP. There's not every day you can sail the F50. To be part of an amazing team with the likes of Nathan Outeridge and Ian Jensen on the boat is pretty extraordinary. I'm just making most of it, making every day like my last.
Really good having Leo on board with us. He's that generation young, enthusiastic sailor. At the moment, we haven't got to see his full potential. Of course, he's just focused on the grinding area, but the contribution him in the debriefs have been very impressive. And next season, when he starts to get a more sailor-skilled role in the boat, I think he's going to excel.
We're really good mates. We have a lot of banter between us. It's good, but yeah, we're very serious when it comes to the racing. We're having an awesome time, and can't wait to get into the racing again.
The boat is a big representation of what Japan is. Japanese culture is full of pride, and I'm really proud to be able to represent the national colours on the boat. And hopefully I'm inspiring the younger generation to believe that they can also get involved at a young age.
Japan are just about to win here in New York City. Well done, Japan. That is quite an effort.
Really honoured to be part of this team, and obviously we want to do very well this season, and that's the goal. We want to take it all and beat the Aussies and beat all the other teams, but in the back of the mindset, we also have to keep developing the Japanese presence on board, and what I want to help with is help the team win.
It's a really nice video, and I like what they're doing with their videos. I think your team had a superb year. You guys were tied, essentially tied going into that final regatta in Marseille, and then it came down to that match race. What happened in that final race?
Yeah, look, it was a very interesting day. We had heaps of wind delays, and then the race just suddenly happened, and it was just a matter of just being able to switch on, and whoever sailed the best in the race, like any other race, won. And full props to the Aussies, and hopefully we can try take them out next year.
And you are sailing again next year, you told me on the tech check.
Yes, I think we'll be sailing next year. It's going to be a few changes, and there's going to be a new team release early next year. So looking forward to getting started next year.
And you'll be sailing with the Japanese, with Team Japan. Is Nathan Outeridge going to be running the team again, driving?
I think it's going to be a real similar setup to next year, and there's going to be a big release, or not release, in Japan early next year regarding the whole season, which I'm looking forward to.
Cool. Well, If anyone else has questions or comments, chime in. And Julia's monitoring as always. You can see her when she puts her glasses on. You know she's getting very serious over there. Let's talk about what's going on up on the North Shore, up north of you a little bit, because there are some Sail GP activities in Bream Bay, up north of Warkworth. Warkworth, of course, is where Core Composites, Core Builders, is building these boats, and they have now built, as we've been telling our viewers, they've built a 7th boat for this coming season. We, of course, tipped that it is going to the Danish team. B7 is going to the Danish team, and indeed, one hears, not only were we right about that, but one hears that Russell Coutts will be doing a press conference in Copenhagen tomorrow. The regatta will not be in Aarhus as we speculated. The regatta is actually going to be in Copenhagen, or so we hear as well. And we'll tell you more about that in a moment. But this is indeed going to be a Danish team, and it'll be run by Jonas Hogh Christensen, or so I keep hearing. That, I think, will all be confirmed tomorrow by Russell in Copenhagen. Meanwhile, up in Bream Bay, up north of Warkworth, where these boats are built, and the 7th boat has just been completed, and where the wings are built, they are testing that boat, and it's some of your friends, Leo, that have been sailing this boat, right?
Yeah, they're up at in Whangarei, Bream Bay. It's about 3 hours from Auckland, and a really nice place to sail. We launched all our Sail GP boats there last year, and yes, that is a commissioning crew right there sailing the new boat, making sure everything works, and they're going to take that boat to Sydney and put it to its paces next year.
Well, this is an interesting development because the 7th F50, this is from a press release in the last couple of days, the 7th F50 has been in production at Core Builders Composites since March and launched on Bream Bay on December 3rd. The catamaran will ultimately be sailed by a new national team yet to join the league in 2020, to be announced at a later date, which again we understand will be Wednesday. I'm quite sure it is. We've been inundated with Fozy, who've been sending us notes. Yes, Russell's going to be in Copenhagen, and we got it in Danish and we got it in English. And you were right. Well, the new crew will join the 6 existing Sail GP teams: Australia, China, France, Great Britain, Japan, and the U.S. as the global championship travels to iconic venues around the world in its, Julie, look at this, it's sophomore season.
There we go.
Sophomoric.
Wow.
I'm not sure I'd say the sophomore season.
Well, everybody understands.
Everyone understands. But there's more. This wing, and maybe Leo can chime in. I'll read this out of this excerpt from their press release. A revolutionary new modular wing sail, which we've been hearing about. Jody Shields was telling us, and Shirley Robertson and others on the commentary. A revolutionary new modular wing sail will also undergo testing on the 7th boat in preparation for being fitted to the entire fleet. This is a massive undertaking. Larry, again, we thank Larry Ellison, thank our lucky stars for guys like Larry that put money into the sport, and he is really doing this up properly. And in preparation for being fitted to the entire Sail GP fleet prior to the San Francisco event here in, May, I guess. A first-of-its-kind system, the wing comprises of sections that can be assembled in varying lengths, initially from 18 to 24 meters, obviously for heavier air, with future ability to go to 29 meters.
Wow.
To enable the F-50s to compete in never-before-seen range of weather conditions. Vital weight savings have been achieved with the all-new wing and a more advanced structure and the removal of rigging and cables inside the hollow structure, adding additional performance gains in light wind. Leo, do you have any comment on these new wings, which sound terrific?
Yeah, look, the team are testing them right now, and there's been really positive feedback, and I think it's a great thing from Russell and Larry to be able to have new sections that which means we can sail in mostly any condition. We'll be falling in the real light winds and even be able to sail in 25 plus knots. So I think it's a great vision by Russell, and I'm really looking forward to the next season.
Yeah,
for the new wings.
Couldn't agree more. They've just stuck the rig, this has been going on now for a couple of weeks, the rig going on up there in Bream Bay. And then the event schedule that has already been announced: Sydney in February, San Francisco in May, early May, New York again. This is a repeat of last year's schedule. Cows, the week after Cows Week, 14th through the 15th of August. And then 2 more regattas. So up from 5 regattas last year to 6 regattas this year. Copenhagen, we think Russell will announce on Wednesday. And then the finale again in Marseille in September, early October. I'm not sure of the dates.
There'll be 6, Daniel Gruen says.
Yeah, six regattas and 7 teams. So we're up 1 regatta and we're up 1 team for 2020 in Sail GP. Before we get to Leonard now and his experience at the Worlds, and everybody wants to know how you're doing after, we've talked, we had the picture of you in the hospital. In fact, I'll show it again, but let's just back up here for some of these comments, Julia. John Emmett, Dan Nolan, we said Paul Erickson is in Qingdao, in China. Qingdao.
Cold,
he says. Poor bandwidth here, but you are breaking up. Okay, sorry. True internet is restricted here back to San Francisco tomorrow. Okay, well, we'll see you, Paul, at the club, hopefully. Have fun in China. John Emmett, yes, as we approach the Chinese New Year, the Great Firewall gets stronger and stronger. There's a lot of people there for these some preliminary events. John Sangmeister, hi, John. John Rogers down in San Diego, presumably. Lloyd Gilmore, John. Emmett, China has to set up a 29er program. That's John Emmett, the famous coach, is saying. Hannah Lee Knoll. Hannah is with Malgus and Harkin.
Sabrina.
And Sabrina Robertson. Nice to see Sabrina on.
But we haven't answered the question. She says, not sure if this has been answered yet, but how are you recovering, Leo?
We're gonna get to that in just a sec.
All right.
Scott Davis, Chris Steele. Chris Steele. It's another one of your buddies, Leo. Famous.
The man, the myth.
Man, the myth, and famously good sailor. Britt Ward. Do you know Britt Ward, who's the lead naval architect, senior vice president at Far Yacht Design? Next time you go through Annapolis, go to Far Yacht Design. Check out Britt Ward and the gang there. Now, who is Ibuki Koizumi?
Hey, he's my 49er crew.
Okay.
Long-term friend, buddy.
And he's on here. Welcome to him, to Ibuki. What do you call it? You have a nickname for him, too.
Yeah, we call him Uber.
Uber. You referred to Fuku a minute ago, Kazuhiko, and I've done 1 or 2 America's Cup campaigns with Fuku, who is he's with your Sail GP team, obviously, and is a famously cool, nice, bright guy and good sailor. Daniel Grund, if I misspoke, I know there will be 6 events in 2020, and we outlined them, and 7 teams, so up 1 event, up 1 team over 2019. Gordon Smith, if true Copenhagen would have to be in July, can't see this working later in the year. I guess he means for win purposes. Jan Peter Anderson, Stephanie Helms, John Sangmeister, glad you're on the mend, John is saying to you. And Tyler Woke Leonard, remembering you as a pretty lean guy, was there any difficulty with your workout program to get into grinding shape? There's a good question. Our final Sail GP, was there any difficulty for you to get into grinding shape for Sail GP?
Thanks, Tyler. Pretty well. It was quite difficult, as I was also juggling my 49er campaign. So I had to stay light for the 49er, but then put on more power to be able to grind the Sail GP. So those wings get really heavy and over 15 knots, and I had to have enough power to be able to maintain the day's racing. But luckily, I put some time in the gym and on the grinding machine. Thanks to a few guys in New Zealand for lending me those machines, and I just had to do a lot of grinding and get used to it. So that's and had to eat a lot of food and do a lot of cardio just to stay lean.
Okay, well, that's an interesting challenge to be fit for both the 49er. Yes. And Sail GP, and you're going to have the same program at least early in the next year if you qualify. Let's switch over to the 49er now. I've got the slide up from your Worlds that just took place, and you had the pre-Worlds in Auckland and over at the Royal Akarana Yacht Club, and then the Hyundai Worlds, for all three of these classes. We had Ben Remacher on the show, and we had the president, Marcus Spillane, who was also on the president of these classes.
Yeah.
So we had a good preview, and they had live TV, which wasn't perfect, but it was a good effort, and it's good to see classes doing that. But Leonard, take us through these pictures. These are from some time ago of you and Ubu. Is it Ubu? Uba.
As in Uber.
Uber, just an Uber.
Uba. Take us through, how long have you been campaigning the 49er with Uba? And you're campaigning not for New Zealand, but for Japan, right?
Yeah. So, I've been really, fortunate to have a Japanese background. And then, I moved to New Zealand when I was quite young. And so I've been really lucky to have a lot of New Zealand friends to sail with. And that's when, I was really involved in New Zealand sailing as well. So I've been sailing the 49er now for 4 years, since the 2016 games. Didn't go to that one, but I started then. And right now we're coming up into the crunch time of the Olympic campaign, as Nathan tells me. And it's time to, really get those results. So I've been loving the 49er. The racing is awesome. And, we just had the Worlds recently, and I'm sure everyone could see the live feed and all the racing updates. But it was an awesome regatta, and unfortunately I had to watch it from the sidelines, but it was great for the sport.
Okay, so you are not yet qualified for Japan, right? You would hope to do so at this World Championship, but because of your injury, has Japan extended the qualification period? How is this working?
Yeah, so what happened was, before coming into this Worlds, we had a 11-point lead over the other Japanese crew. But due to my injury in the pre-Worlds, the selection got taken to Melbourne. Luckily, the other Japanese crew didn't do well enough to qualify themselves at this World. So, I kind of see it as a, live to see another day, live to see a new chance. And now it's just going to be a who performs better at the Melbourne Worlds.
And has Japan actually qualified in the 49er, or do you have to do well enough also at that regatta to qualify Japan into, because it's a nation qualification as well as who gets to represent the nation?
Yeah, Tom, luckily, since Japan is the host nation of the
right.
2020 Olympic Games, we have an automatic spot, which is, pretty awesome.
Yeah, because I don't think the U.S. has yet qualified. In fact, I think that this was the end of the qualification opportunities in the 49er, and the U.S. will only get to send a team if another country drops out. Is that right? Do you know?
Yeah, that's correct. 49er has 19 spots at the Olympic Games, so 19 countries get to compete. There were 10 spots given at the 2018 World Championships last year, and 4 spots that were given this year at the Worlds. And then there's a variation of continental spots, 5 continental spots. And obviously if teams drop out, then they get given to the next lowest team, et cetera, et cetera. So, the US team, Nevin Snow, my good friend, were doing really well this regatta, and they looked like they were going to get a good spot for the US team. But, they had unfortunately a few bad days, and it was sad to see that. But, it's really, really hard to get a spot for the Olympics for a country right these days. And, only the best can. So luckily for Japan.
Nevin Snow, who's from San Diego, won the Gov Cup not too many years ago, right?
Yeah, he won the 50th edition 3 years ago.
So the one that you're wearing the shirt for.
Yeah, that's the one.
That'll make Andy Rose happy. Okay, everybody wants to know what happened to you. We talked about this on the show last week. This picture came off your Facebook page. It wasn't something that was public. We were free to use it, and we first heard about this, Leo, from Pricey, from Harry Price's dad, David, who had his knees done, both of his knees replaced at the same time, and he said, "Oh, by the way, Leo has been injured in this pre-regatta in the 49er." And take a look at I don't know if he sent me the link or Julia we found the picture, but tell us what happened.
Yeah, it was at the pre-Worlds, the Oceania regatta that happened a week before the Worlds, and Ibu and I were on the port hand ley line sailing upwind to the top mark, and there was another boat had borne away around. There was a big congestion at the top mark, and another boat that had borne away didn't see us coming, and just their wing collided into the back of my rib, and then you could see. I'll show you my trapeze harness here. Usually there's a North Sails batten that goes in the harness to support my back, and you can see that the batten's completely crushed. So you can see this one's solid. And so I think this batten single-handedly saved a lot more serious injury. But right now I've got 2 fractured ribs and a kidney hematoma. So
a bruised kidney, in effect.
Bruised kidney, yes, yeah.
Which is not something to play around with. So you were on the port ley line, you said. So you're going along up the buoys. I'm going toward the camera as the buoy.
Yeah.
Somebody had to duck somebody. They were starboard tackers going across, and somebody ducked like this and then hit into you on the side. Did I get that right?
No, there was a boat that had already gone around the top mark going downwind.
So
that boat was in a lot of trouble or something. I'm not sure what was happening, but they just didn't see us and collided straight.
That's even worse. So you're on the port ley line. They've already gone around the top mark. You don't have and you don't have any separation mark. You don't have an offset mark. Or anything?
There's no offset or anything there. It's 49er fleet. So it's just a lot of, because there's a lot of boats obviously jibe setting as well, and a lot of boats straight setting. And in the middle of the fleet, there's about 20 boats going around at the same time. So it was just a freak accident, and it could have happened to anyone. But
and
for myself,
were you on the trapeze when it happened, or were you in the boat with the trapeze harness?
Yeah, I was on the trapeze, already crouching, but it just hit me square on the back and threw me off the boat.
Well, you're right. And how much breeze was there?
There was about 12 knots. So the boats the 49ers they're moving.
I mean, they're wicked up in 7, right? 7, 8.
Yeah, exactly. They're wicked up, and luckily it was at the top mark. It wasn't a full speed boat, but it was still caught me by surprise. I can tell you that much. Yeah.
And it must have hurt like hell. How'd you get back to shore? Did they have to take you in a rib, or did you? No pun intended. Or did you sail? Did you sail back in?
No, there was a really good medical setup there, and the medic boat came over straight away. Obviously, I knew there was something wrong straight away when there wasn't much movement there, and so they took me straight to the closest shore and straight in the ambulance to the hospital close by.
So really, a bruised kidney. It wasn't that the rib went into the kidney somehow, or there was no lung involvement either. You didn't. We've had friends on here who, when that day that we reported this, they said, "Oh my God, I had some fractured ribs and punctured lungs as a result." But your lungs are okay, and it's just the bruised kidney, which is nothing to mess around with, and the very painful broken ribs.
Yeah, luckily there was no other serious injuries. Obviously, the kidney hurts like hell, but it'll just take a little bit of resting, and then we'll come right in a few weeks' time.
So when's the regatta in Melbourne?
Yeah, the Melbourne Worlds is going to be another pre-Worlds. I don't know if I want to do that. It's a bit scary for me, but it's gonna start on the 8th to the 16th of February is the Worlds.
So you want to be fit in time for the Worlds, obviously, so that you can qualify. Hopefully, as the country is already qualified because you're the host country, Japan is, and you'll get auto entry. Whoever is the top team, but is it come down just to this Worlds? Who beats who in this next Worlds? You and the other Japanese team?
Yes, it's going to be a who beats who situation at the Melbourne Worlds. The doctors say there's going to be about a 6-week resting period, and then from then on I can slowly start activity. So hopefully I'll be good by then, but just going to have to take it easy for now, and then just hope that we're good enough and all our training is going to pay off then.
Are you able, I guess you can't sail or practice in the meantime, right? You got to stay out of the boat.
Yeah, obviously I can't really do much right now. I can only do a little bit of walking and stuff like that, but hopefully I'll be back in the boat mid-January is the plan.
Julia.
No, it's just important that you take that time to rest and let your body catch up.
Okay, there's Grandma.
There's Grandma.
Grandma Julia looking after you.
Cheers, Julie.
Okay, well, I've got a video from the wrap-up video from that regatta. Let's have a look at it. I think it's a pretty cool video. And I'm going to leave your mic up and the audio down. We got Peter Lester doing the commentary for the regatta, but maybe you want to offer some comments, Leo, about the competition in all three classes. Did you have this much breeze the whole time?
Yeah, there was a fair bit of breeze. We had a funny story. Leading up to the regatta, a whole month before, we had a month of southwesterly breezes, offshore breeze in Auckland. That's what all the teams trained in. And as soon as the regatta started, it changed directions to a northerly, and we had a lot of swell and a lot of carnage. Really, it's I don't think many of the sailors were ready for it. So it was good to see get a bit of a change up.
How many regattas have you been to when they say, "Oh, we never have conditions like this"?
Plenty.
So you got to hand it to Pete and to Blair. Are they on their way to winning another Olympic gold? Is there anyone? Does this German team have a chance of beating them at the Olympics?
You can't really argue otherwise. Pete and Blair they've been so solid, and even when they haven't done 2 years in the class earlier in this quad, they still came back and dominated in the European and World Regatta, which is one of the most important regattas in the season. So you can't really take that away from them. And obviously there is a few teams that can fight for their spot, like the Germans team or the other young Kiwis. So you can't take that away from the other guys as well.
Well, and lest anybody think they've just hopped back on the boat and that the class is somehow weak, they struggled in the first few regattas. In fact, in New Zealand against other Kiwi competition, if I remember well, and it took them some time before they finally got back acclimated to the class and up to speed at the Europeans. As you said, I think they struggled in the one or two regattas that they raced in Europe before that, and for sure in New Zealand. So it's a tough class, right?
It sure is. There's a really good Kiwi group here down as well, with the likes of Logan Dunning-Beck and Oscar Gunn and Isaac McCarty and William McKenzie. They really challenge Pete and Blair all the time. So it's a really good group down here. And Pete and Blair, they definitely had their struggles earlier this year, but it seems like when the time comes and they need to be on peak form, they can deliver.
Yeah, true champions. They rise to the top and peak at the right moment. John Emmett, I am sure he will smash the regional qualification. Well, I think he's talking about you. Joachim Aschenbrenner joined. John Emmett, what is your trial? Japan has a guaranteed place. So I think we've covered that, right? It's just who beats who in the Melbourne Regatta, the Melbourne World.
Yeah, there will be. Yeah.
Okay.
But for us, we aim to try to be up there in the top of the fleet and try and make the gold fleet as well. That's what we try to do. We don't try to worry about the trials or anything. We want to try improve for the Olympics. So that's our goal at the moment.
Okay. Who else here? Moving and breathing really hurts when you nail the ribs. That Bill, yeah, we all know that. I've had one minor fractured. What do they call it? A green sticks fracture when it. In any event, it's a painful thing. Don't laugh, right? We don't want to make you laugh right now or tickle you or anything. Bronny Daniels, heal fast, Leo. John Emmett, this is why we were doing 3 months in Melbourne, to try and be prepared for anything. I wonder you will probably know who John Emmett is coaching. Do you remember offhand?
Yeah.
In Kiel, they missed the podium and another Kiwi team won. Sorry, I forgot which one John Emmett is saying.
Logan Dunning-Beck won the Kiel event. Another young and upcoming Kiwi 49er team. They were 5th at the Worlds last week as well. So, a lot of promise. They really do give Pete and Blair a run for their money. So, it'll be really interesting to see how they do at the Melbourne Worlds as well.
So, somebody asked earlier, are they out to get you? First of all, this latest crash. When you've been very kind to say and repeated since the tech check and during this show, the live show, that it was something that wasn't wasn't somebody aiming you, targeting you. That's to use American footballing. But then I do have this picture Let me.
Oh, you did get it, yeah.
I did get it. Let me go to this camera and take out and I'll put this picture right up here.
Yeah, that's a famous picture.
That is from Marion Longprix in which Gov Cup?
That was the 2017 Governor's Cup.
And that's Harry Price, right?
That is the famous Harry Price.
And you were in the finals, the two of you, and he smacked. This is just after he smacked in. He's actually bounced off or pushed the starboard quarter of your boat to leeward, and you did not have your feet hooked under the straps, apparently. Is that right?
Yeah, look, it seems like both times I have been on the right, so someone is out to get me. Is something is happening. So
just keeping you on your toes. Yeah.
Well, hopefully the third time is lucky. So.
Well, we can only hope. Okay, Leo, anything else you want to add before we wrap up your segment? I'm going to do one more segment after this. You're welcome to stay.
Oh, I'll happily stay. But no, look, it's great to be here and tell the whole story. Really looking forward to the next year. Hopefully, it's going to be a big season for myself and all the teams. And just a huge shout out to everyone involved, especially all the Kiwi teams here and my friends at the Killarney 16. And thanks for having me, Tom. It's been really cool.
Well, thank you for coming on. And everybody on here is wishing you a speedy and full recovery. So we hope that you're back in action. Keep us posted, would you please?
Yeah, for sure. There's for next few weeks, it's just going to be a bit of rest and recovery and enjoy the New Zealand summer. So that's my plan.
That's a great idea.
And just chill back and relax. So we'll keep you updated.
Okay, take good care. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and say hi to your mom and dad, and we'll talk to you soon.
Cheers, man. Have a good one.
Thank you. Leo Takahashi, Leonard Takahashi, better known as Leo to all of his sailing mates, and there are a lot of them. He's a very popular figure on the scene. We've gotten to know him from, as we've said now several times, from Gov Cup, and just a wonderful, wonderful guy and a great sailor. And it was last year the youngest sailor in Sail GP, and is repeating Sail GP this year, he thinks, with the Japanese team. So good luck with that, and hope he qualifies for the Japan Olympics, for the Tokyo, which is really in Enoshima Olympics, in the 49er class. Okay, today, Tuesday, it's now Wednesday down under, but for today, Tuesday, big race scheduled, the Grinders Coffee CYCA Solas, this is a mouthful, Big Boat Challenge. This is a traditional race that takes place in Sydney Harbor a couple weeks before the Sydney Hobart, the start of the Sydney Hobart, which of course is on Boxing Day. You non-Anglos will probably, non-Kiwi, Brit, Aussie. Boxing Day is the day after Christmas. We will cover the start as we've done the last couple of years. We'll do a watch party with live coverage from down under at, I think it's 6 o'clock, but check your, we'll promo it here, but at 6 o'clock, our Christmas night. We'll do our normal Tuesday Christmas Eve show, and then Christmas night, we'll do the watch party with the start of the Sydney Hobart, and then probably take Thursday off unless the finish is exciting, in which case we might go back live with a watch party for the finish of the Sydney Hobart, and then we'll do our regular show on Friday. If the finish is not in the meantime, we might cover it live during the Friday show. And Julia, you're not going to be with us, right?
No, I'm taking a whole day vacation.
You're going to take Christmas and Christmas off, yes. Christmas Eve and Christmas off.
Yes.
Okay, but anyway, this race is a cool race. It's happened for years, and there's some good news and bad news about this race in Sydney that was to take place today. The good news is that Wild Oats 11, Waxy, which sustained significant damage to their rig and deck 30 days ago, yesterday, managed to get the mast repaired. Well, we showed you that video last week, and the deck repaired, and got in the water yesterday, Monday, to race in this race today, Tuesday. And there's a shot of the deck repair. It's amazing what a great and quick job they did, but you heard Ian Murray on the video that we had from Jeff Waller predict that they would be back in the water. And I talked to Nick Douglas once or twice. She was there shooting video and said, "Yep, they're in, and it's going to be cool." And the race on Tuesday should be today should be really good. The bad news is that today dawned really smoky. It was even worse, Julie, than what we've had here in the Bay Area with the fires. At least we didn't have the bushfires affecting us other than a bit of haze, right? It wasn't too horrible. But have a look at this.
Let's go to Sydney now, where a wave of hazardous smoke is
This is from this
swallowing
morning,
the city just hours
Tuesday
ago.
morning, not
it
Wednesday,
became
Tuesday
so
morning.
thick over the harbour, the Opera House and Circular Quay
The day of the race.
behind that haze. And it's triggering major health warnings, with the smoke expected to linger for most of the day. Let's go to Grace Fitzgibbon, who's at Penrith in the city's west, where the temperatures are also tipped to soar into the low 40s. Grace, they are horror conditions today.
They certainly are, Davina. Just as we thought things couldn't get much worse, these pictures coming out of Sydney this morning are extraordinary. That iconic Sydney Harbour view that we all know and love, virtually made invisible by this thick smoke haze coming from these New South Wales bushfires. At around 7 a.m. this morning, the air quality levels reached hazardous. St Mary's, Richmond and Rouse Hill copping the worst of it. And it isn't just Sydney. This smoke is lingering right across New South Wales. And to make things even worse, as you mentioned, we're expecting very high temperatures today, a top of 36 degrees expected.
Okay, so you get the idea. This was Tuesday, today, although it's now dawning Wednesday morning, or has dawned down there in Sydney. Needless to say, the race didn't happen. And have a look here. This is, I think, Blackjack. A couple of the boats went out just to see if they could navigate, see if they see what they could see or what they couldn't see. And that is a shot, I think, who was that? I've got it in the credits, but what an amazing, I mean, Julie, we've had bad smoke here. But,
yes, but not like that.
This looks like the worst, densest fog we'd ever have here in San Francisco Bay, and this is just from the smoke. It must have been awful.
Yes.
Unhealthy, awfully unhealthy for people to breathe and carry on. Okay, now here's a video from Jeff Waller, and I'll run this video that shows what this race should look like. This is last year's footage, I believe. And he's got some footage of what is normally spectacularly beautiful conditions on Sydney, in Sydney Harbor.
Which is a spectacular.
One of your favorite places in the world, right? Smoke from the bushfires, they call them bushfires.
Yes.
Ringing the harbor and city. So, needless to say, when the conditions aren't like this, and they're as bad as they were, you can't race. Here's the Commodore of the Cruising Yacht Club.
I guess today we've seen the bushfires come to Sydney Harbour with a vengeance, and just shows that the trouble and the problems that have been facing our friends in the bush and the great efforts of our firefighters. But we've had to close down effectively the Grinders Big Boat Challenge today. We've had to abandon the race. And we've done this on the back of the advice that we've received from the various authorities, from our own inspections of going out onto the harbour. We had a boat out there about half an hour ago, and the visibility was 0.1 of a nautical mile at that point in time. And the view was, for the safety of our competitors, but more importantly, the spectator craft out there, it would be irresponsible for us to run the race today. So we've made the difficult decision to abandon the race, which was going to be a spectacular race with 6 of the best and fastest boats in the world out there racing around Sydney Harbour. But there's a responsibility on us as the organising authority to do the right thing and to make sure safety is at the forefront. So that's the decision we've made. We did look at whether we could postpone the race. There is a small southerly change due in about the next 2 or 3 hours, but it's not enough to clear the smoke in any particular hurry. And so the earliest we could potentially run the race would be this evening, and even then there's a sort of 30-knot southerly coming through. So we decided discretion was the right thing to do, so the race is officially abandoned.
And our thanks to CYC Commodore Paul Billingham explaining the situation. And Olivia and Peter, as Paul explained it, it's all down to safety for the competitors, for the spectators, and for also other craft on the harbour. But these are very dangerous, treacherous conditions and the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia was left with no choice.
Yes, exactly. As Commodore Paul Billingham said, with the best information available at the time, postponing the race wasn't actually going to solve the problem. So we do have a little light easterly, northeasterly wind here, but it really isn't clearing any of this smoke. And our thoughts are with those worst affected by the bushfires and those continuing to fight the fires across our state.
Well, Gordon, I've grown up on the harbour, as many of us have, and I've never seen conditions like this, even in foggy winter days. It's real pea super with this smoke haze, and the club really had no other alternative but to abandon the race. It's disappointing, I know, but there's certainly more days to go sailing, but it's really, really thick. You know, if you're on one side of the harbour, you just cannot see the other side of the harbour, and obviously the safety considerations have got to come into play.
And Olivia, it's also...
Okay, so that's Paul Shipway, who's been a commentator forever on the Sydney Hobart, and also Commodore Billingham. But Olivia Price was on the show. She's one of the Price family, one of David and Christiane Price's kids, along with Harry. So we'll leave it at that. You can see what just ridiculously poor visibility and bad conditions. Obviously the right thing to do, and Julia, they didn't have much choice.
No, Gordon Smith says, if the ferries were canceled, then the conditions must be absolutely dreadful.
Yeah, because the ferries have GPS and AIS and whatever the hell else they have, and they're used to working in fog and all the other terrible conditions. Okay, let's wrap this one up and see if there's, any final comments. Bronnie Daniels. And Sabrina Robertson, yeah, but you immediately got back out. Yes, he did. We're talking about when he went over the side of the boat. And Sabrina Robertson is the daughter, a good friend of Meg's, of some of the senior series people at Balboa Yacht Club, too. And she helps out running the Gov Cup. Hi, Sabrina. Nice to see you on.
Yes.
So, yes, he got back in the boat, finished the race. I don't think he won that series. I think Pricey's kid, Harry Price, won that regatta. But anyway, it was a great regatta, breezed up the last day. This is Governor's Cup a couple years ago when Leonard fell out of the boat after Pricey smacked him in the back end.
It was
cool.
Awful.
John Emmett saying there was talk about Sail Sydney being canceled, the small boat regatta. Well, it's bad. Obviously, it's bad conditions. And you wouldn't, forget about visibility and not being able to navigate. You wouldn't want to be out there breathing that stuff, I wouldn't think. No. My esteemed and beloved mother, Janice Davis, is on. Daniel Grun, gosh, this is awful, Tom. I lived in that beautiful city from 2006, 2008. Yeah, if the ferries were canceled, as you just said, Julia, it's tough. Dick Loomis, Jeff Dreschler, thank you to all of you for joining us for today's show. Julia, do you want to say your piece again?
If you forgot before, do not forget now to like and share and subscribe.
There it is. It's on your screen.
I know.
On your big monitor that they can't see behind the. And go over to Sailing Illustrated if you're so inclined. Give us $10 a month or something to help us keep the lights on and keep the show going as we're approaching show number 250. Who would have thought we'd ever get that far, right?
Yes. It'll be a grand occasion.
It will. Well, it'll be a grand occasion, except you're going to be up in Calistoga, I think.
No.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think the 250th is when we're doing Christmas night. Is the.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think you're going to. So we'll have to postpone our little champagne for the 250th until the Friday. You will be back for the Friday show, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, everybody. We hope to see you. Speaking of Friday, for our show this Friday. In the meantime, thanks to all these folks who gave us photos and video for today's show. And we'll see you on Friday, same time, same channel. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao. Bye.